frame me in a picture. Sharpie horns on my head. Every rumor like a scripture. They repeat what they were fed. Yeah, I'm walking through the whisper. Let them burn me in their tails. I keep receipts in my ribcage. Every scar, every DD. Call me the villain. Paint me in black. Blame every crack in your heart on my back. But when the curtains falling and every mask is gone, you'll see the villain was the hero all along. Yeah, I'm the villain. I'm the hero all along.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. This is the Red Hill Podcast. And I got some special guests for you all. I wanted to bring up a few topics today. There is a case that is working that went to the Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken, that had something to do with smoking weed and owning firearms. And so I do want to bring in a special guest, which is Todd Ventermeyer, so he can talk about that case. Because he's in Alaska having a good time, and he has to get to. He has to get back to Denver. I want him to have that good time. Todd Ventermeyer, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm all right. Dude. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
All right, good. So yeah, we're on a cruise ship in Alaska at a undisclosed but safe location, safe from JB Pritzker today, but the Supreme Court's taking care of business for the last week.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was that case all about?
Well, the first case was Hamani, was about could they have a broad category of people who sit there and they just say that they can't have guns because they just make a blanket statement that they're prohibited individuals based on them having an admitted use of drug use, whether it be recreational, medical marijuana, whatever. And so the court went further than I thought they did, and they laid out a few things. One of the things I think they've laid out is that it is, I think the standard of review to make somebody prohibited is going to go higher. It's going to be not just clear and convincing or preponderance of the evidence. I think it's going to end up being that it's, at least in the criminal cases, they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, which should shake up Illinois' mental health records. It should shake up a bunch of the things the state police are doing, like clear and present danger. It should shake up stuff when law enforcement files objections to carry permits. That was the Hamani case that was released last week. Now, today, the Supreme Court released the decision in Wolfer, which was based around the vampire rule. And it got its nickname because you had to be invited in. Vampires could not cross the threshold unless they were invited in. And here in this case, they sat there and said, you cannot go into a restaurant, a grocery store, unless they affirmatively posted a sign saying that you were allowed to go in there carrying a gun. This flipped the social norm on its ear. And so with that, the court took the advantage, and they did more than people thought. Everybody thought we would win the case. It would be a narrow decision, but between the main opinion by Justice Alito and the concurring opinion by Justices Barrett, Gorsuch, and Thomas, I think they put the death nail into a couple of things. One, it reiterated what the Brew test is, and the Brew test is the way to evaluate how you look at
You getting a real bad breakup. Yeah, it's breaking up.
Sorry, I can only do so much with whatever the ship has for Wi-Fi.
Don't worry.
Let me move to a different location, see if it gets any better.
All right, we're gonna get.
And
No problem. We're gonna get into the show and whatnot. Check your connection, but I do want to bring P Ray up.
yeah, is this any better?
It is better.
Okay, good. Believe it or not, there are certain spots on the ship that are better. So, anyways, what happened was that one, they said this is how you apply the Bruin test. They put down three criteria for it. They reiterated that it's textual comes first, that history plays no part in the first step of the Bruin test. They also uh, talked about how that you can't use analogies that are too far out. They tried to say that Hawaii had the aloha principle, and they had this long history of not allowing weapons in the light. And in doing all of that, they said no. You got admitted into the union. That means you bought the Constitution, hook, line, and sinker, and so it doesn't matter that. And there's one standard. There's one standard whether it's in Hawaii or it's in the Big Apple in New York or the Windy City of Chicago, which I think is going to bode very well for us when it comes to national reciprocity. On
Hmm.
top of that, on top of that, they also sat there and took on the black codes and the fact that the anti-gunners and state governments have been using the black codes to try to
Yep.
bootstrap up their uh, this is text history and tradition. And they're like, you can't use those. And
Hmm.
Alito poked fun at them, but Amy Coney Barrett really poked fun at them for that.
Yeah, because Illinois
So
tried to use that black codes, and then they tried to use Newfoundland's law
right,
back in the day.
right.
Yeah.
And they sat there, and I think they telegraphed this was coming in the Kamani decision a week ago. I think they
Hmm.
sat there and said, "Hey, this is coming," and that's what they sat there and they telegraphed it. They also sat there and they doubled down on what arms is. They sat there and they said that, hey, arms are everything offensive or defensive. So I think that's going to bode well for our semi-auto ban challenges in Illinois and
Hmm.
Virginia now and New Jersey, because New Jersey and Illinois are in front of the appellate courts. So I think that's all going to bode well for us there. I think that we have a fair number of wins out of these two court cases, and I think part of this was a smackdown to to her and tell them they've been getting it wrong. We meant what we said, and this was the polite way of saying that. Now, we have
Hmm.
another orders list coming out. We'll see what they do with the five hardware cases. They could GVR them. They could hold them over. They could do a bunch of stuff. So I would expect that in the New Jersey case and our case in the Seventh Circuit, there's going to be a bunch of 28 J later letters going to the court saying, hey, you got new guidance here. And this is what this says. So I think it has been an outstanding week for us in the Supreme Court and everything that we have prevailed upon. I think there's a lot of nuance to read into it, but I think the court says what it meant, what it wrote in Bruin. And I think Justice Jackson continues to be the greatest travesty of legal malpractice foisted upon the
I seen
country.
that post. I seen that post.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
seen that post, and
So,
you're right. But yeah, go ahead.
so that's I mean, everybody. It's like, well, it's the vampire rule. Yeah, but the way they laid this thing out today, it's going to impact Illinois, and it's
Hmm.
going to impact us in the Seventh Circuit with the Barnett and the Illinois gun ban cases. I think the Schoenfeld case on mass transit can be relitigated now because I think the standard that they set out there was blown out of the water in the Wolford case today. I think that you just run it through a shredder. That decision isn't worth the paper it's written on
Hmm.
today. So I'll
Okay.
probably get into all this a lot deeper when I get back home. But
Yeah, I'm definitely
uh,
looking for that show. I'm definitely when you get back home next Thursday, I'm definitely looking to get into that. I geek out on that type of stuff.
Yeah. So that's what there is. If anybody's got any questions or anything else.
We'll get to it, and I think next week we'll get into the questions, the Q&A, and have people call in and ask questions about it. But for now, I want you to go enjoy yourself because you're on vacation in Alaska, and I,
Yeah,
and
I
I
still got. Oh, when this stuff comes up, I got to do a little bit of work, so I don't
yeah.
mind. It's a good thing. It's it's a lot easier drinking whiskey tonight when it's a win and it's not it's not a loss. But and I think there's a lot to celebrate. I think there is wholeheartedly a lot to celebrate on these two court decisions.
Yep. And I want to thank you for taking time out just to keep us abreast of what's going on. I'm gonna get into the show and I'm gonna talk to Miss P. Ray Easley here. How you doing, P. Ray?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry I
all
don't
right.
have my camera on. I'm doing my Thursday night rituals, and
I know.
all right. But yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's we had a quite an interesting weekend this time in Chicago.
Yeah,
And Mayor Johnson has said a lot, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Um, we're live on Facebook, live on Instagram, live on X, and live on YouTube. Um, but this weekend, I think more or less, let's play just this little clip right here.
City leaders and youth advocates saying the number of shooting victims from just this weekend alone is a good reminder of why organizations like peacekeepers and violence interrupters are so important and need continued support. A busy weekend for Chicago police and first responders processing scene after scene. The Juneteenth holiday coming to a violent end on the south side. We counted over 100 shell casings near 95th and Wentworth, where a drive-by shooting left 13 people injured just after 11 o'clock Friday night. The victims between 17 and 47 years old. Saturday night, around 10:15 on the west side, an 18-year-old boy died after being shot inside a home near Quincy and Cicero. Chicago police say they recovered a gun and arrested a 17-year-old boy in that case. A little over an hour later in North Lawndale, officers were at the scene of a large gathering when they say gunshots rang out. Two 19-year-olds and an 18-year-old were shot. You can see what appears to be a bullet hole on the hood of a CPD squad car. The violence catching the attention of President Donald Trump, who's frequently said he wants to send in the National Guard to help with crime in the city. He took to social media early Sunday morning saying in part, quote, "Lots of killing going on in Chicago. Why isn't Governor Pritzker calling me for help? I could make Chicago a safe city." And while the rain kept some people away from this Juneteenth/Father's Day violence prevention awareness celebration in Chicago Heights today, Jamon Crawford with Peacekeepers says days like this are more important than ever.
It shows from the Inglewood neighborhood to the Austin neighborhood, all the way back to the south suburbs. All this violence has been going on over the weekend. That's why it's so essential that you have organizations out here.
Recent research from Northwestern University found a 41% drop in violence when they looked at more than 200 hotspots where peacekeepers are stationed.
So our day-to-day is being in hotspots where violence most likely occur. We are violent interrupters. We are there to mediate a lot of situations.
It's mediation they're hoping will continue bringing numbers in violence down. I'm Masal Rezai, CBS News Chicago.
We did reach out to the governor, by the way, for a response to what the president said. We have not heard back from Pritzker's office.
Well, P. Ray, it seems you had a
so
bloody weekend. Go ahead.
this is the issue. Because my favorite Chicago rapper, Mellow Bucks, was
Mm-hmm.
also found this past weekend with a gun in her car. And
Yep,
they're making a big deal out of it.
they
I
are.
bring up Mellow Bucks because she had an album release party back in February, I believe, and 18 people got shot. Okay, and this is in
Yes.
downtown Chicago. And four people got killed, including her boyfriend, her best friend, and her play brother. So I was thinking, well, shoot, I'll have a pistol up under my seat as well. You know,
Hmm.
the problem that we're having here in the city of Chicago is the fact that we are not getting justice out of the Cook County courts, and that is what keeps this street violence going. Even if President Trump was to send the National Guard right now and they were to go around and snatch up every gun that's not supposed to be on the street or what have you, people are going to put some rocks in some socks and they're still
Hmm.
going to go and beat the people that they want to beat because they are not getting the justice that they are due as American people in Cook County. Our problem is in the Cook County courts and in the Illinois legislature through the Safety Act because a lot of those people who are committing all of this debaucherous degenerate behaviors, they under normal circumstances should already be locked up in Cook County Jail. You
Hmm.
got people who are found at these shootings with house arrest bans on. Well, in
Oh
the state of
yeah,
Illinois, you
it's a big
get
thing.
48 hours of movement. How in the hell you getting 48 hours of movement? That's 2 days of being outside on house arrest. No, honey, you're supposed to be in the house. But again, this is progressive policy failure. And until we get to the root of that, it doesn't matter how much federal resources we get because we don't have the foundation to support it.
Yeah, and that one of the things is it is becoming a revolving door. And one of the top um, lawyers, self defense lawyers, David McDermott, he talked about it.
Mhm.
He brought it up. And he said we still have the same amount of people. It's supposed to reduce, you know, not necessarily crime, but it's supposed to reduce how many people are being held in jail on
Right,
bond,
incarceration.
yeah, incarceration rates and all the other stuff, right? Because people are unjustly being held against their will in the Cook County jail, blah, 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 and everything else. But the numbers have not changed, right? Have not changed, will not change. And it's becoming a revolving door. We have people that are getting right back out and committing the same crimes.
And then there's no
Um,
deterrent to it. You see what I'm
nope.
saying? If I know I can go, if I first off, only 6% of the shootings in Chicago are solved, which means that if I shoot somebody, I have a 94% chance of getting away with it. Only 25% or 23% of the murders are solved, which means if I kill somebody, I got a 77% chance of getting away with it. There is no deterrent to gun crime in this city. So, like, even today, the mayor signed an executive order to open an office of violence prevention, gun violence, blah, 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 which is just another way for more of his people to get cushy six-figure jobs in the government, right?
And
Because,
they've been siphoning that money too.
hell
A lot of
yeah.
those violence intervention or the people that are supposed to intervene, guess what? They were taking that money and they were using it for nefarious things. I don't have
Yes.
a
Well, they've been
problem.
doing that from the beginning. That's how
Hmm.
Nixon got caught up. Sending money to the city of Chicago for violence prevention, okay? And they took that money and bought drugs. We already know that's how this
Hmm.
goes, okay? They've been doing this now for well over 60 years.
Yeah.
However, what I'm saying is we are dealing with a legislative issue. This is not like no matter how much grant money, how many rallies, how many picnics, how many panels or whatever people are doing, none of that's going to change the fact that the laws are not currently locking up criminals like they're supposed to be.
Hmm.
You know what makes America great is the fact that we're free, and that if you impede on anybody else's freedom, you have to be quickly and efficiently removed from the society. We're not doing that. So now everybody's uncomfortable.
Well, just in case everyone out there, if you're listening and you wondering what the Safety Act is, let me play this for you. This may give you an idea of what's going on here in Illinois and Chicago and Cook County.
What is the Safety Act in Illinois, and is it working or backfiring? Dan McDermott here, McDermott Law Group, not your typical attorneys. Guys, the Safety Act was implemented in September of 2023 in the state of Illinois, and it was to reform the criminal justice system by ending cash bail and attacking systemic racism. What does this mean in English? Prior to September of 2023, we had cash bail in the state of Illinois like every other state in this country. Post-September 2023, instead of having cash bail, we have what are called detention hearings or PFA hearings pursuant to the Pretrial Fairness Act in Illinois. A detention hearing is basically to make a determination as to whether somebody is going to be detained until the time of their trial or released on pretrial conditions. Now, the argument for having such an act, for having such legislation in the state of Illinois, is basically that people of color are adversely affected by these cash bails that were set. In other words, if in fact somebody was given a cash bail of $100,000 D-bond and they had to post $10,000, and somebody over here had to post the same $10,000 for the same charges, somebody in this particular community might be more likely to afford it than somebody else in this particular community over here. Now, the argument was, if we get rid of cash bail, we don't have this problem, and we're not specifically alienating or specifically adversely affecting people of color or people that are not capable of posting these bails when other people in those same particular circumstances are in fact able to post bail. What wasn't being said is that instead of presenting this situation, instead of having to post bail, the courts are given a great amount of discretion to deny release of that individual from custody. Now, pre-COVID, we had a significant number of people in custody in Cook County, for example, in the state of Illinois. During COVID, those numbers shrank, and because of the Safety Act initially, those numbers were supposed to be maintained. They were supposed to continue to fall and supposed to continue to go down. However, now, it's just released in a recent article, we now have the same number, if not more people in custody in the Cook County Jail than we had before the Safety Act. Think about this for a minute. There are more people in custody right now than there were before COVID, when the purpose of this act was to make sure that people were not being imprisoned during the course of their case. We have people sitting in custody until the time of trial that have not been adjudged to be guilty. They've not been determined to be guilty, and they're sitting in custody behind bars until they can go to trial. Is this Safety Act really committing or accomplishing what it is that these legislators were arguing it would accomplish?
You're in Illinois, you need a self-defense attorney. That would be one of them. He's known for it. But you got anything to say to that, P. Ray?
No, I think that they are pushing lawlessness on us under the guise of helping Black folks. And I hate that, because in the city of Chicago, statistically, a Black woman is going to be the victim of a crime before everybody else. So why would they believe that they have to pass laws in order to help villains when the real victims are still unprotected? And now you are allowing these villains to come back onto the street. You're not watching them while they're on house arrest or electronic monitoring, whatever we're calling it, and they're able to go out and commit more crimes. Again, if people really saw folks going to jail, getting locked up, doing this stuff, I think that we wouldn't have it. That somebody would think that it's okay to go and shoot 13 people at a Juneteenth picnic. Who does that?
Yes, and that was
scared of jail. That's who.
That was one of the most that was one of the most controversial things. I mean, well, not just controversial, but it was one of the most shocking things on Friday, Juneteenth celebration. They shot it up. Oh, well, P. Ray, she'll be back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there was 13 people. So we had a mass shooting here in Chicago. All right, there were 13 people shot in one separate setting. One separate setting. That is horrible. That all of a sudden you made it your gumption, and let's just be real about it. If it's supposed to be in the Black community, P. Ray, you're back. That look like you're back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. People text me. No, I'm listening to you though. Even if you don't see me, I'm here.
Okay, no. But even when you're supposed to be celebrating something that's historic, something that defines our history here in America, anything, whenever you sit in there and you're supposed to do that, and you go and commit a mass shooting. I don't know how many shooters there were. I don't know how many guns were used. I just know that 13 people were shot. This is not the first time. We can talk about Mellow Bucks where 18 people were shot. We can talk about it was one right after the PICA Act was passed. Guess what? There was this party on the west side, and I think Skin Bones was there. And 15 people were shot at that point.
Yeah, they shot them inside of the little banquet hall they were in.
Yep.
And again, nobody went to jail.
Oh no! For that one, that guy did go to jail. There was a guy they caught and went to jail. She must have dropped out. But yeah, in that one, there was someone that was caught and he went to jail. We have a problem, right? People love to say necessarily gun violence, but violence is just violence in my eyes. And these people, they take it upon themselves. Now, let me run down the whole script. If you don't know anything about Illinois, how do you obtain a firearm in Illinois? First thing you have to do is get a FOI card, firearm owner's identification card, right? You got to get the government's permission to get a firearm. You got to go through that background check, right?
Right.
You got to go through that background check, 3-day wait period. Now, on top of that, all of that with a 3-day wait period, FOI card, which is actually a 30-day wait period because by law, they have 30 days to respond to you.
You know, they denied me the first time I applied. And I had to make a big stink about it on the radio.
Oh, but that's because they didn't want to. And just remember, Madigan versus Moore. That was the case that made Illinois adopt concealed carry. We were the very last state in the whole union to actually get concealed carry here. Yeah, look it up. Madigan versus Moore. The very last state was Illinois, and they fought it all the way to the Supreme Court. Just looking at this, we got all of these restrictions in place, and then we come up with the PICA Act, and then what they had downstate, they were trying to ban Glocks. But guess what? It didn't pass through. I thought it did because sometimes people use hyperbole. They say, "Hey, well, it passed the House, passed the Senate, and I should have did my due diligence." I was like, "Oh, the way they passed it, just wait the governor's signature," but it didn't pass. But they're going to come back next year. I guarantee you, if they don't come back in fall session, that's the stuff they're supposed to work out. That's what's that? What is that session called?
Veto session.
It's veto session. I'm drawing a blank, but yes, it's called veto session. So they're gonna come back in veto session and probably try to bring it up again. And if it's not, go ahead.
I think that all of that comes from this push for socialism, because socialism only functions if you have an unarmed society. So their goal is to make us as unarmed as possible so that they can usher in whatever they're trying to do, which is why people like you and me really matter in these conversations, because we're saying we're Black American people too, and we want our guns. I tell people everybody know my gun is named Penelope. Okay. and I don't play about Penelope. But we as a people get so caught up in this rhetoric about being anti-gun, and we should get away from the guns and don't touch them, don't look at them. But Justice Thomas said the Negro must be armed in McDonald v. Chicago. I just think that we would do really good as a people to really tap back into our patriotic capital in this country and really start to explain to each other why it's very important for us to have law and order with gun ownership. Because right now we have a lot of gun restriction and chaos, and that's only resulting in lots of death and destruction around us.
Well, it's funny that you say that, but I think it's President Nixon's fault. Let's put it that way.
How so?
Black death has been unfortunately accepted in this country for a very long time. We had a chance 60 years ago to get at the root causes, and people mocked President Johnson, and we ended up with Richard Nixon. I'm going to work hard every day to transform this city. That's what it takes to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago, and everybody's stuff.
What Richard Nixon got to do with it? I bet he was like, well, I'll be damned. What I got to do with this? If I tried to help them Negroes in Chicago, I sent them money. What are you talking about? He did.
But that goes to a bigger problem. Of course, Mayor Johnson is talking about that the funding was cut, right? That funding was cut, whether it was supposed to be some type of invention. But why do they always try and throw money at the situation? Why do you think that?
Because that's a way for them to build up their election army. Remember that this whole issue is built upon the fact that we are functioning in a social service economy that is controlled by non-for-profits that are funded by Democrat politicians. And so
Mm-hmm.
those people have to be loyal to the party in order to get the money to pay their bills. That's what we're dealing with here. So if you say you're going to throw money at it, like I say, he got this new office now. Now they're about to, create 4, 5, 6-figure jobs. Those people going to be giving out money. They're going to be having grants. I had watched the reparations hearing yesterday or day
The
before yesterday
committee, yeah.
in Chicago. Yeah. And even that was all about getting people money. I mean, not getting people money in the terms, because I say cut the check, but I'm saying giving money to organizations in order for them to continue to act as these Democrat overseers. That's what we're dealing with here. And I keep trying to say this, and I don't know if I sound crazy when I say it. I'm like, why am I saying this? And people act like I ain't saying nothing. Like, I grew up doing this, Corey. I grew up in this world. I know these people. And I'm telling you, the goal is to control the people for the Democratic Party through socialist dollars or
Well,
social service dollars.
I'm actually surprised that Brandon would say because President Trump cut our funding, all right, not because we mismanaged or misappropriated the funds, right, and we spent it on illegal immigrants here in Chicago. Right? Oh, well, P-Ray, I know you probably got another call. She's a busy woman. But the one thing is this. He didn't want to bring up the fact that he had misappropriated money, right, for illegal immigrants.
Correct. And that's why the money got taken. That's why everything is falling apart in the city of Chicago, because Brandon Johnson decided that he wanted to give taxpayer funds, federal dollars, to illegal immigrants in order to advance their goals against the American people. That's what we're dealing with here. A lot of times people say to me, P. Ray, you're too polite to the mayor. Because, overall, I am a pretty polite lady. P. Ray, you too polite to the mayor. You too calm with him. And I'm like, my goal is not to, go down there and holler and scream at him and all this other kind of stuff. But I do check him like, Joe, you lying. We catching you in these lies, and you don't have to do this. For what? Who are you trying to prove yourself to? But he's trying to prove himself to these socialists. That's what all of this is about, to have an audience with the socialist people, because they are being seen as the nouveau intellectual of society now. If you are somebody, you think anything of yourself, then you should be pushing socialism and taxing the rich because they want to take all the money and leave all the people poor. But y'all the ones that got the 6-figure jobs in the society. And you only make your money based off of the people being poor. So if you want to remain relevant, you have to maintain your service base. And that's what we're dealing with here.
Let me put this out there. If you can, share this stream, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on X, whether you're on any other platform that I'm broadcasting on, share it. Get more people in. If you got questions for either me or P. Ray, if you got anything that you want to ask us about what's going on here in Illinois, and we're gonna try to get into some topics as far as trying to remedy the problem that we have in Chicago. I think it's a multitude of things, but we had 13 people in one setting that was shot. We had probably over 40 people that were shot, 8 killed this past weekend when we had Juneteenth and we had Father's Day. We had Juneteenth
and the Puerto Rican parade. We don't talk about that too.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't just black folks out here shooting each other. It went down on Division. It went down on North Avenue. Every year these numbers are off the chain. They fight. That's why people go out there to the Puerto Rican parade, just to fight. I was in this nail shop in Humboldt Park, and this lady was in there. Now this is like a lady in her 50s. She was telling the nail tech, make my nails a little short in case I got to go out here and ball up my fist and fight. I said, girl, y'all know y'all be fighting out here. She said, hell yeah. Everybody know what's finna go down. So they never even frame it, with them. It's always Juneteenth weekend. It's never Puerto Rican Independence weekend. You see what I'm saying? But that's an issue within itself. But all these people got shot because, again, you can shoot somebody in Chicago. You got a 94% chance of getting away with it. Why wouldn't I
Yeah.
shoot somebody?
But and then Mayor did talk about uh, the clearance rate,
And
the
that's a
more
lie.
detectives.
So
Yeah, I know.
that's a lie. At first I was like, "Yay, Brandon, you all are clearing." Because, again, I like to clap when it's appropriate. But we
Hmm.
found out that they're not clearing shit. I mean, nothing. Excuse me. I don't want to curse on your
No,
feet.
you can say, you can
But
say what you gotta say.
they're not clearing anything. What they're doing is they are closing cases. And what I
Hmm.
mean by closing cases is, like, say you have a case from like the 30s or the 70s or what have you. They'll say, okay, based on what we found, we ascertained that the murderer is dead, and therefore this is a closed case, and now we can count this as a cleared murder.
Hmm.
That's what we dealing with. They're not solving crimes.
Well, yeah, and then but I think we have a plus 8% in the shootings, murders, or homicides, or whatever you like to call it. We on YouTube, so whatever they, you know what, they restrictions is crazy, but we have a +8, so that means we're up 8% from last year, and they took it and they pat themselves on the back, and I said, well, wait till this year, because guess what's going to happen? Because we had a bump, and we had a bump up in homicides, and I think we're at 209. We may be a little bit higher now. I will have to check heyjackass.com, but for the most part, crime is not going down. I don't care what that mayor is saying. He knows the crime is not going down, and especially how they report it with the Safety Act. And I've said this before. They can skew them numbers. Now you can't skew the homicides so much, right? Those numbers kind of stay consistent. But essays or any other stuff, robberies, all that stuff, they can cook the numbers on those. They can cook the numbers on those. Let's hear from Brandon right quick.
To face this challenge, we know that our communities deserve safety, opportunity, and the resources that are needed to thrive. Even as Trump's cuts and federal funding uncertainty threatens violence reduction efforts nationwide, my administration continues to strengthen investments in violence reduction, youth opportunities, and community-based interventions that ultimately make neighborhoods safer. Part of our efforts also include supporting the call for a permanent department dedicated to gun violence reduction, ensuring these efforts remain coordinated, accountable, and sustained for the long term. Because building safer communities requires the full force of government and a commitment to addressing the root causes of violence. And one of the most important investments that we can make is in our young people. Right now, more than 25,000 young people have started summer jobs through the Chicago Youth Works program. When we invest in our youth, we invest in safer communities, stronger neighborhoods, and a brighter future for Chicago.
Wow.
Again, this is it's so, yes, summer jobs have been a thing. When we were teenagers, people were getting summer jobs, and we appreciate the Chicago summer job program. They've been doing it since the 70s. But that does not address the legislative failure that we're suffering from right now. It's like JB Pritzker's name is Bruno, and everybody's scared to say it, right? We don't talk about Bruno, we don't talk about JB Pritzker. These problems rest at his feet because he is the chief executive officer for the state of Illinois, and it's the laws that are currently on the book that have us in this situation. So I remember at one point, JB was talking about possibly amending the Safety Act because we were talking about it so much in the national media and how, the Safety Act is making us unsafe. So he, gave a little pushback. He said, well, I agree. Maybe we should amend the Safety Act. But then nothing happened. You see, like, it's just all a game, and it's so weird, which is why we have to really invest in making sure that that the people understand what's going on, and we can have some more strength behind us. because right now it's just you, me, just a splattering of people. But the people really have to understand that this is a legislative issue, not something that you can give people grants about and then kind of feel your way out of the situation.
Oh, for sure. I wanted to address this question. Corey, do you think releasing this criminal act on Juneteenth is a way to make blacks look bad? Oh, I think I know what you're trying to say. Hopefully, if you can clarify. But far as that they are committing this criminal act on Juneteenth, you got to think about it, who the perpetrators are. I can only suspect, but I don't know. And I would have to have the information if they were to catch you one about that, that if they were perpetrators and they were black and they did it on Juneteenth, that means they just didn't care about Juneteenth. If it comes out that some supposed white person shot up something on Juneteenth, then that would change the dynamics. So I can't really just say that right now that is to be truth to power. But one thing is this: it shouldn't have happened. I can say that fact right there, it shouldn't have happened. We have evil people that are out here that are looking just to cause havoc, and they're out in the streets. Hopefully that answers your question.
Like I say, it wasn't just black folks shooting that weekend. They never were talking about what was going down in Humboldt Park.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not trying to say that, one is better than the other, but we're just dealing with Chicago debauchery as a whole. This is Chicago culture. And that's a shame that culturally we have maintained this type of behavior for decades.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, people just kind of expect it to happen. Oh, it's a holiday weekend. It's going to be a bloody one in Chicago. And that's because, again, people know that nothing will happen. So if you want to hurt somebody, the best day to do it is on the 4th of July because they already popping firecrackers and you can go and get your ops and nobody's going to do anything to you.
That reminds me, because even on New Year's, it'll be a certain amount of fireworks, it'll be a certain amount of, explosions and everything for New Year's. And then, they break out the guns and just start shooting. Also in that same realm, they would break out the guns and start shooting each other. Right? Yep, she's down there, but she probably got a call. But they would break out the gun and start shooting each other. This happens every New Year's. I remember when I was in high school, there was a guy that got shot 16 times, right, on New Year's. I went to the funeral and everything. Of course, my mother wanted me to see the funeral because of the simple fact is, if you lead that lifestyle, that's where you can wind up at. And so I remember that distinctively, that she wanted me to go to that funeral and attend.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, but you see how it's not even like shocking or surprising. It's just like, well, that's what he lived. And if you live that way, that's how you gonna die. Like, no, this is America. That boy was just supposed to get locked up. If you are out here and you're committing crimes and you stealing and you doing all that stuff, the punishment for that is not an extrajudicial street killing. No, the Cook County State's attorney is supposed to prosecute you and lock you in the Illinois Department of Corrections. I think that we don't value lives equally, and those who have been deemed to be worth less get less justice. And that's why we have so much chaos going on.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what else this mayor has to say here.
Good morning. Mark. Well, I left my branding at home, but I can give you one of our Deep South Press Corps pins. Okay. To add to the gift box. Thank you. Also, being a student of language, even before I got into examining public characters and measures, I have to point out to you, as I pointed out to your press team, communications team, that I think you mean that the president is dough-brained or dough-minded, because doty can mean anything depending on the spelling, from savvy and results.
The spelling that I'm using is unintelligent.
Okay. Well, that's not the way it plays out. But anyway, it can range anywhere from
As you can see, well, we'll get back to it because there's more to that clip. But as you can see, I can tell you right now, insults are not going to help. And
That's
if you have the
look,
president,
Corey, I didn't been down there and I told Brandon, stop fighting the president. I even met this past weekend, I'm not gonna say the official's name, but I happened to be at an event in your hometown, Maywood, Illinois, with
Mhm.
a elected official who was very close to Brandon. And I told her the same thing. I said, everybody think that I'm just out here trying to do all kind of stuff and be in the way, but no, the president of the United States cannot fight with the mayor of Chicago because nobody wins. Nobody wins. A beef
Mhm.
between a beef between two grown men has a city of 3 million people on their backs right now. We can't
Mhm.
have that. She said, "Well, that's a good point." I say, "Yeah, you push that forward to the mayor. Tell him we don't want to fight. We're not standing with him with this fight. Yes, West Side people stick together, but we can't stick together with you on this one, brother.
Mhm.
No, 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 no." But that's what they want to do. They want to call names. They want to talk shit. They want to, try to intimidate and bully and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
When this is not gang banging. Everybody want to be the toughest gangster in the room, and we don't need gangsters. We need legislators.
We need
Like
legislators.
that's why.
We need people that's going to make a change, right?
Correct.
And who's actually in tune with the people. They can sit down and have the conversation with the people, however tough it gets. I understand that you don't want to be threatened, you don't want to be cussed at, you don't want to be all the slander and everything else. But there's going to be some tough questions. That reminds me of William Kelly. I got to pull his video up. But William Kelly, when he goes in there, he asks those tough questions. We need that, right? And of course, I can give credence where credence is due, right? At least whether it's not a good answer or not, at least the mayor will answer him. Because if you remember, William Kelly, the Lightfoot had kicked him out, and
Yeah,
he
about
had
to
to
say William
sue.
Kelly is a hot mess. We know
Yeah, yeah. I want to get him on the show. I think I can. But Lightfoot kicked him out. He had to sue and take it to federal court to get back in there, and to which he won, right? And he's back. Of course, he's causing havoc. He's asking tough questions, but for the most part, you need someone to and ask the how and ask the why, ask what the problem is, and try to figure it out. But these are very complex situations that I don't feel that we can just solve with one conversation or overnight. What do you
no,
think?
I agree. Like I said, I know what the issue is. I know what the issue is. I know what it's been. And nothing will change until we get more capitalism back in the state of Illinois. Again,
Mm-hmm.
if you live in this neighborhood, like right now, I'm on the west side. The majority of the businesses or enterprises over here are non for profits. So
Mm-hmm.
we need more factories. We need more
Mm-hmm.
businesses, not non for profits. But we can't get those factories and businesses because once again, our legislators have created a uncomfortable business environment
Oh
for
yes.
people to come here. So that's why people are leaving. That's why the property taxes are high. Not
Yep.
because there is some conspiracy against Black Chicago, which there definitely there's a overtone there, definitely. But the main problem is the communities that had the highest property tax increase have the most vacant lots, churches, and non for profits. So you
Mm-hmm.
have a smaller tax base paying in, and therefore the homeowners who are still there got to make that up. So
But even if you look at the Gold Coast has businesses moving out because they can't stop them from stealing. They can't
correct.
stop them from smashing
Stole these people
grabs.
out of business. Literally
Mm-hmm.
stole these people out of business. Like
Mm-hmm.
even like for us over here in Austin, we have a Walmart because they were saying like, oh, they closing all the
That one on
Walmarts.
North Avenue, right?
Yes, the one on North Avenue in Kilpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
We kept our Walmart because you're not finna be over here doing all this stealing.
Exactly.
Hey, put that back.
You
Like
remember
no.
was it 87 College, the Walgreens over there said, hey, we won't pack it up and move it because we can't get a hold of the stealing. And they were on there talking about how, well, we need to keep this Walgreen here as a staple. Then they talked about, one of the ladies talked about that her father was a pharmacist, I think back in the day, all type of pharmacies on Cottage Grove. And one of my things was what, and they were blaming Walgreens for putting them out of business. I don't necessarily blame Walmart for putting them out of business. I blame the people for not going to those or going to
Well,
those
let me
pharmacies.
let me explain it to you because I thought about it
Mhm,
the same way. There's a black-owned pharmacy right here on 16th and Lawndale that's been in business, but
mhm,
if you like my daddy coming up, he had congestive heart failure, so we would go travel all that kind of stuff. If my daddy had his medication at the pharmacy on 16th and Lawndale, and we in Florida, how can he get a refill? But if you got it at the Walgreens, then the Walgreens in Chicago is on the same system as the one in Florida, and
mhm,
therefore you will have better access to getting your medicine. So I completely understand that because the same thing happened over here on Kedzie and Madison in East Garfield Park. There was a private, a privately owned pharmacy there, and then a CVS came, and I knew, I'm like, man, this CVS ain't gonna last on no North Avenue and kids. They finna steal these people out of business, and
mhm.
did. So once they left, now there is no pharmacy on North Avenue and
Nope.
KC at all, and so those problems came to be because once again it's legislative failure. When Kim
Mhm.
Foxx decided that she was not going to prosecute felony theft
Oh
under
God.
$1,000, then people just felt like they can go steal anything to get a misdemeanor.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
understand me? That's
Oh no,
legislative
it wasn't
failure.
even just a miss. It was just a ticket. It was a
Hmm.
ticket. They
Well, that's
gave him
what
a
I'm saying.
ticket.
It's still a misdemeanor. It wasn't no felony
Mhm.
because now
I understand.
Eileen Burke saying, if you steal $300, that's a felony. You going to IDOC.
Yep.
And that's what people understand. I get that we don't want to be a very uh jail heavy society, but some
Mhm.
people got to go to jail. You understand me? Like, do you know how hard it is to go to jail in 2026? It's no longer cases of who done it, right? Because we are the
Mhm.
most surveilled city in the country. Like the Mexican guy who shot the black man down at Grand Park the other day. They were able to go to his house and pick him up in Oak Park just following the cameras throughout the city. And then they said that the Secretary of State has some type of facial technology. So they found him that same night. Okay, you shoot somebody in Grant Park, you going to jail that same night. But if you shoot somebody in Douglas Park, you may not go to jail at all. You see
Oh
what I'm
well.
saying?
Mhm.
So the city has the capabilities to solve these murders. Their AI definitely exists, so we do have to, take that into accountability as well, or to consideration as well. But in 2026, if they say you killed somebody, you did that shit. They got all the
Well,
technology.
well, look at the Julio Fulio trial down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know they went through them boys' phones? I mean, they showed the keystrokes, they showed them typing in the name, they showed them screen record, and showed them searching for uh, addresses and searching for Julio Fulio's address. All of that. They showed everything that they needed was on their phones because we are one of the most surveilled societies in life because we've given up our privacy. Is a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because yes, if you have that type of crime and you want to, make it stick and you want to actually solve it, I can understand that. But then on the other hand, what if I'm not doing anything wrong, right?
Right.
I don't want the government in my business like that. I don't want them to surveil me. I don't want them always trying to, well, even plan stuff on my phone.
No, and I
Whether
and
that,
I get that. That's why I say I understand all of those nuances. But what I'm saying is, if you shoot somebody in Douglas Park, you need to go to jail. You understand
Mhm.
me? I want them to use all those cameras. I want them to use all the facial technology, and I want them to
we don't
lock
have
you
shot
up. But they're
spotter no
not
more.
doing it. We
Glad
don't
they
got
took away
shot
shot
spotter.
spotter.
Yeah, we don't have any of this stuff now. So people, there's no deterrent from crime here in the city. That's my main problem. Where is the crime deterrent? Like
Mhm.
I just remember growing up, like my grandmother, Lord rest her soul, she would always tell me, like, you go to jail, they gonna whoop you in jail, and the food nasty, and you gotta take cold showers, and it's dirty and it's stinking there. You hear me? So you going to jail. I'm scared of jail. Do you hear me? I am terrified of going to jail under any circumstances because that was pushed in my head. But now we've normalized going to jail. We telling
Yeah.
people it's not that bad. They got tablets in jail. They on Facebook. They making
Mhm.
TikToks. They trying to show people how comfortable it is, so people don't have that fear anymore. That's what we have to get back to, showing you how horrible and hellish jail is. And I'm not
Well,
saying that we want to torture the prisoners, but they end up having too much of a good time, Corey.
go back to manual labor. Go back to crush rooms.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
back
They say
to
go out there and pick them strawberries that they say we need
Mhm.
the foreigners to do. That we need the illegals. Every job that the illegal is doing, the prisoners in that state need to be
Yeah.
doing.
They could be doing all of that and whatever. And you know what? You got a long time to think about it. However long you got, whether it's 10 years, whether it's 5 years, whether it's 2 years. Hopefully you come back out and be a productive person in society. But if you're not, as my mother would tell me, they got a place for you.
Yeah, they got somewhere for you. My grandma used to say they got somewhere for people just like you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
all the tough guys, all the
Mm-hmm.
ones that think that she said that think that the Mayor Daley gave you the key to the city. You know, they got somewhere for y'all tough ones. Come
Mm-hmm.
on, go check it out. And that's what we need again. But they are making too many excuses for this behavior. They don't understand. They had a hard time. Let me tell you something. I've been black my whole life, okay? My whole life I've been black. And black people spank their children, okay? Everybody understands right from wrong. Everybody know you don't steal. Everybody know you're going to watch your mouth. Everybody knows that you're going to clean up behind yourself. Everybody has these foundational values, but it's these racists who believe that we're just too stupid to understand how to function in regular society, and therefore they have to change the rules and circumstances in order to help us acclimate to a society that we created. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts, which is why I say build the jails. Lock them up. Hey, if you did the crime, you got to do the time. Like think about all those kids that got killed over there at O Block, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The
scores of
many murders
people.
they had, O Block and STL, EBT, or Eberhard and St. Lawrence, if you want to be
Yeah,
exact. All of them kids.
how?
Mm-hmm.
How did this happen in the most surveilled city in the United States of America? Is some sadistic person just watching the cameras and watching them do all this crime? How is this happening? But
Mm-hmm.
nobody cared. Nobody cared to lock them up. Nobody cared to get over there and say nothing. It just became, something fun to say. People want to go visit the King Von mural.
Oh
Like what?
yes. Oh yes, they do. And I always everybody talks about O Block, O Block, O Block. And if you look at the numbers, it's not to say anything about the West Side or say that the West Side is just this horrible place. But the West Side does have is actually averaging more homicides. Well, I'm gonna say Austin neighborhood, not the whole
Hmm.
entire. You got Garfield Park, Lawndale, and all the other stuff, right? But Austin is always above Inglewood. Austin and Inglewood run neck and neck for the 1 and 2 spot. Then you get to Auburn, Gresham, and Greater Crossing, and all those other areas around Chicago, whether you want to get over east and whatnot. But for the most part, O Block got famous because of the rappers that actually um, glorified it.
Correct.
And I'm gonna say this one last thing, and I'm gonna let you have it. Because one thing is, and somebody said, is rap to blame for the problems, and did I struggle with that? Yes, because you think about it, you listen to rap, and doesn't make me want to go out there and just go shoot somebody. But then if you think about it and you look at these new age rappers, especially how drill rap went, well, they're talking about each other's dead homeboys. They're making fun of it. They haven't. They. I'm smoking on blah blah blah. Right? They make these whole videos. All of that goes into it. Excuse me. Be ready to be right back. But they're making all of these videos and they dissing each other, they calling each other names, and then all of a sudden, what happens? Well, then they get this retaliation, and then when the retaliation comes, then we have a circle of retaliation. That's one of the things that happened with O Block and STL, EBT, and the whole fight that
But
they had.
that's what I'm saying though. So even you going to piss on your op grave, that is a felony in the state of Illinois. Lock him up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, none of these things would have escalated this far if people were just being prosecuted for the crimes that they were committed, how they were supposed to be prosecuted. Nothing more, nothing less. You got these boys over here at O Block who are getting paid by Universal Records to continue this chaos. They putting the videos on YouTube. They making a little YouTube check. Everybody is capitalizing on Black murder and trauma in the city of Chicago, all around the
Mhm.
country. Now that everybody want to put something on Them grave. Don't put nothing on Them grave. My cousins and my uncle dead folks. You
Mhm.
understand? Don't you put nothing on their grave. But it is just so for real. I'm sorry, just a sidebar. Anybody that's watching this, don't put nothing on another dead folk on the hustler grave. Please. You have no
Well,
rights.
well. Okay, so here's the thing. The didn't mean for the fours. I know what you're talking about. It didn't mean for the folk and hustlers. It meant actually family over everything. And
I know
that,
I get it, but that's not what they saying. That's not what they
Mhm.
saying.
I know what
They
you're saying.
saying,
There's a lot of people
yeah,
out there saying it that don't even know
that they
what it
don't
means
even
and
know
what,
what they talking about.
hmm
That's what
and they
I'm
use it.
saying.
Yeah.
Yes, because everybody is trying to create an image of being an authentic urban person because Black Chicago is the star of America, right? Everybody
hmm
wants to be us on some level. So, in order to be like us, rather than capitalize on what makes us great, people are capitalizing on what makes us degenerate, and they're getting paid to do it. As far as these social media sites and YouTube, they gotta play a part in this too. Why are y'all hosting this on y'all platforms? Yes, we believe in free speech, but no, I shouldn't be able to log on here and see a murder. Under no circumstance, I've seen way too many murders on the internet. Like these are
Well,
not actual people's kin people, and that's what I'm saying. It's just wild. But again, if Kim Fox, for instance, I remember when she was still in office, she was hanging out with Lil Durk. They sitting
mm.
courtside at the
Oh, Lil Durk had got the key to the city out of Broadview. I
he
remember
got
that.
to see, yes. I was just with the mayor of Broadview too. Shout out to Katrina. She said that she didn't know. She said she didn't know. She said, hell, Kim Fox with him. And they sitting courtside and all that. I'm thinking he must be somebody decent because the kids like him. Kim Fox like him. He with Lori. Hell, let me go check him out too. And she said, girl, I didn't even know. That's
Well,
what I
nobody. Okay, so the thing is, nobody really knows, but they know what you're surrounded by. And the one thing is, I think a lot of people, what you know what, I don't have to push back on it. I think they knew, they just ignored it because
Well,
here's the
they
thing,
they
right?
thought that he was just like a Tupac type of character, right? Where you're
Mm-hmm,
just this created thug life image.
mm-hmm,
But Lil Durkman was out there actually killing people, and Kim Fox knew that stuff. She knew
mm-hmm.
it. She's the state's attorney. So
Yeah,
before she even validated them like that, she should have been running cases on them. But they
yeah.
didn't have no cases. That's what I'm saying. It took the federal government to come to step in and make them stop what they were doing. After I
Mm-hmm,
think 53 people got killed over there, those
mm-hmm.
53 bloodlines stopped. But
53.
but they don't care. And that's what I'm saying. Like they're the broken windows theory. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I want that back. If we catch you and you got a gun, ain't no you get probation. No, baby, you got to go sit in that cage, and I want to know who you was going to shoot.
Well, I know what you're saying, but I can't
But no,
agree.
but so not for us, not for you and me, right? Because we are
Well, no,
upstanding people. But I'm saying for those who are out here shooting people and being engaging in debaucherous behavior, no, you don't get the right. Again, rights only come in this country by you not impeding on other people's rights, right? That's what they say. You got the right to say whatever you want to, just don't touch me, right? But once you start impeding on other people's freedoms, now we have
mhm.
to figure out how to remove you from the society because you're disturbing the peace. So if you're disturbing the peace by shooting up the Juneteenth event or peeing on people's graves or going to and shooting up grocery stores or shooting up people's cars at McDonald's, they still haven't solved that murder where the little girl got shot in the back seat.
I remember that one. And you know
Yeah.
what? The funny thing, well, not the funny thing about it, but the bad thing about it, me and my wife rolled by there the day that happened because we were coming from Maywood and we were heading back home. And so I decided to take Roosevelt that day for whatever reason it was. We seen the yellow tape there. And then when we got home, we realized what happened. And it's still tragic that the little girl died. Well, just be honest about it. Her father was mixed up in that world.
Well, but you see, that's what everybody said. Well, her daddy was mixed up in that world, and that's my point. Like
Mhm.
people say stuff like that only to have a reason to not solve her murder. Like that little girl still
Oh no,
got shot. I mean,
it's still.
not
No,
you,
I
but I'm saying
understand.
that's what people say in general. Well, you know, her daddy got her in that situation. You seeing her little picture? She was wearing Gucci head to toe. They won. You know what? What was he doing
Mhm.
that his baby got on the whole Gucci outfit? So I get it. I understand all that. All I'm saying is that nobody's going to jail for these heinous acts, even within
Mhm.
my own family. My baby cousin Abraham Cooper. Okay, this is my auntie Renee, Sonia Renee Easley. Yes, you know I'm Patricia Ray Easley. This is my auntie, okay, my auntie, not my aunt. This is my
Tell my aunt,
auntie,
my
okay.
auntie.
Yeah, this is my auntie, okay. I'm her favorite niece. She my favorite auntie, okay? And my aunt had 8 children. The first 4 were girls, and her first boy was her 5th child. His name is Abraham. Abraham is her all-time most favorite child, okay? Everybody know Abe, her favorite child. Anything and everything she do in the world is to make Abe feel good. He is the shining prince, the apple of her eye. On December 19th, 2014, Abraham Cooper was murdered on Laverne and Ferdinand. He caught a bullet to the heart and he was pronounced dead at Mount Sinai Hospital.
Mm.
My auntie called the Chicago Police Department, Area 4 detectives, Chicago Police Department, 11th District, Cook County State's Attorney, and the Illinois State Police Department every single day of her life before she passed away in 2020. Okay? Every single day for 6 years, and all people could say was, well, he was in a known, drug trafficking spot. Abraham didn't sell drugs. You understand me? It was a nice December night. We have cousins who were in that lifestyle. He said, it's nice. Let me go walk over here and talk to them. Let me see if I can get $20 about them. And walked over there and caught a bullet to the heart. I give you all of those, all of that to say Operation Legend by the Trump administration had to send the feds here to do an indictment or do an investigation and drop an indictment. And not only was Abraham's murder on there, but my other first cousin, Jeffrey Jamal Akeem Daniels, who is our first cousin, he was murdered in 2009. He is identified as victim 1 in the indictment. And then we had
Mhm.
another cousin who was murdered, John Jones, June of 2003. He was the first murder victim in the indictment. So 3 murders in my family got solved, along with 17 other murders in the indictment. So there were 20 murders over 19 years
Oh
that
no,
the
I know
feds
that
case.
was the one with the travelers over there.
Yeah, the
That
Travelers.
was
That's yeah.
yeah,
They were on
that was
Leamington. Wicked
Wicked
Town.
City. Yeah, Wicked Town. Yep, I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, that's my
I read through that indictment.
so yeah, so then so I say tell all that to say that was my family. Okay.
Mhm.
That was my family, my kin people. Nobody else's. And if the Trump administration did not send that federal help, Corey, to help us, we never would have got those murders solved because locally they did not value their lives. That's what
Mhm.
I'm saying. The Democratic Party in this town does not value Black lives. They
Well,
would
you
rather.
can't say that too loud because you know they're gonna call us names, and especially I'm waiting on some names to be called on Facebook. I'm waiting on some names to be
Man,
called.
look, everybody in the city of Chicago, no, you call me a name, I'm gonna hurt your feelings. Okay. I'm gonna don't come to me with that. Don't come. I tell people all the time, everybody know I got a mouth. The Lord blessed me with the gift of communication. Don't make me use it to hurt your feelings. But I say that to say that the Cook County Democratic Party does not care about Black lives in Cook County. If they
Well,
did,
because Tom Dar said he did. Emmanuel Chris Welch said he did. You know,
how can Tom Dart care about Black lives when he allows people on house arrest to go unmonitored and they get 2 days free a week? How?
mhm,
How?
mhm.
You have now unleashed criminals who are supposed to be in the custody of the Cook County jail back into society, and then you're not even monitoring them, but you care about my life? How?
Mhm.
I know what it's like to be cared for. I know what it's like to be loved. That ain't love or care.
I know what you're saying. You know, because we can't talk about Tom Dart, the Speaker of the House, because they are the great saviors of Illinois. If you really think about it, and Jelly Bean, I mean JB Pritzker, um, you know, all of them. But you know that brings me to a deeper seated issue when we talk about Safety Act, PICA, or Protect Illinois Community Act, and everything. I know you probably touched on it, and I'm gonna ask you again. Do you really think these laws that they're passing is going to help Illinois in any capacity?
No, it's only to provide cover for criminality. And I believe specifically the illegal population. This is why you can now you can change your name in Illinois. You don't got to write it down. You don't got to publish it. You can just become a whole new person. This is why you can, I won't even say for the illegals, but I'll say definitely for cartel trafficking, because the cartel specifically chose the state of Illinois because of our laws. And if I know, they know, and they're not trying to do anything to adjust it because that parallel economy allows them to continue to provide jobs for the people. And now they can just go outside and sell a little heroin, sell a little fentanyl, you know what I'm saying? And still make your bills, still be able to pay Tommy.
That's what I don't hear. But that's what I don't hear. I don't hear anything about overdoses, right? I know I've heard about in Oregon because Oregon had legalized drugs and whatnot, and then all of it, just pretty much, and then they were having overdose after overdose, and they had to rescind that. But I haven't heard. I know that there's overdoses here. I know, and I'm not saying that there isn't, but I just haven't heard anything about the number or amount of overdoses that here.
Well, if they were to discuss the overdoses, then you would have to talk about the cartel. If you were to talk about the cartel, you would have to talk about the laws, and they don't want to talk about the laws. That's the whole thing about it. It's all meant to distract you. Like the children's story, the emperor doesn't have on any clothes. You know, everybody is looking at a big old ashy booty, but nobody want to say it. You know, and it's JB's ass that we looking at. Okay, he is the naked emperor who's standing before us, and
Don't give me that
because
visual. Don't give me that visual. I'm just saying. Don't give me that visual. I could have lived the rest of my life without that visual. I can tell you that much. But go ahead.
yeah, but he's the naked emperor standing before us. And just like in the story, the emperor controlled everything. He controlled the money, he controlled the access, he controlled the food. So everybody had to come out every day and clap for the emperor's outfit because they knew that if they did not, they would be exiled from society. That's what we're dealing with in the state of Illinois to the T. So, at what point do we decide we want to be free? You can't, but when you talk about freedom, and I'm only speaking on this from my experience of being in Black radio, when you talk about freedom, sometimes it is as difficult as explaining the color yellow to a blind man because they've never seen it and they've never experienced it and they never thought about it. So when you say you don't have to go along with this, you have choices. They say, but if I make a choice, what happens? Won't they cut my lights off? Won't they put fines on my building? Won't I be ostracized? You
I
see?
mean, I mean, we're already ostracized. I would think that me and you we're already ostracized because we don't capitulate to the bullshit. And
Correct.
yeah, we actually say, hey, look at this a different way. And I always say this, and I'm probably going to say it again, but usually what I tell people, I ask them, I say, so who's your state senator? I don't know. Who's your state representative? I don't know. I said, who's the president? Oh, Trump. Okay, he's the president. Who's the president before him? Biden, right? Yeah, and all other stuff. But I usually ask them, I say, who's your your local officials? Whether you look at your Cook County Commission, a lot of people still don't even know who Tony Prepwinkle is. A lot of people don't even know who Todd Strozier is or was. A lot of people don't even know who I'm sorry. I know who Brandon Johnson is. You can't go through that. But even if you ask even some of these people that stay in the suburbs in the Chicagoland area, they don't even know who their mayor is. Nobody knew who, I hate to bring the name up, but nobody knew who Tiffany Henry was until the news started bringing her up.
Man, leave Tiffany alone.
I'm just saying.
I know that's your girl.
I know that's your girl, but I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying in general. That's my point, though, love. They only go by what the media tells them. They're not reading. They're not researching. They're not doing any of those things. They only go by what the videos tell them, the TikToks. The 1 minute TikTok has crafted your entire political view.
Yep.
And I just think that that's absolutely ridiculous. And that's I tell people, I say this and people think that I'm being arrogant, but I ain't none of your peer. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? If I
Mhm.
say this, just know that I read it myself. The best thing that my mama did for me ever in life, other than birth me, is put me in a speed reading class at Malcolm X College in 1996. Okay, that changed the whole game because now I can read stuff very fast and you can't trick me on nothing. And I just believe that the people don't want to be tricked, but they are too afraid of being aware. So they would rather
But
just remain
it
ignorant.
even goes back to the literacy rate. Eh, Here's the thing: you got to think. Even when we talk with people in spaces, right? Even if you put something up and you say, "Hey, this is what it is," and they will see it completely different. And yeah, and it comes down to the fact that you can read it and probably enunciate it, but do you understand it? Because part of literacy is comprehension, very
Correct.
much. And if you can't comprehend what you're reading, then that means, in a sense, that you're illiterate.
Yeah. And that's what we're dealing with too. But we have people who are trusted leaders, and the people believe that they're telling them the truth, like Barack Obama. Barack
Mhm.
Obama stay lying to black folks every day. Every time he come around,
Uh,
it's a bit of a
I got to
lie.
ask you then. I got to ask you: Are you going to go to the presidential library?
Hell no. I don't I have no desire to ever go over there. He was the worst president for black folks, for the Negro in modern American history. We lost 40 to 70% of our wealth while he was in office. He did absolutely nothing for us. The only thing that he did was give minority status to white men under the guise of LGBTQIA plus,
Mm,
which
mm.
then diluted the minority power of the Negro. So
Yeah,
he was
he took care of the gays. I'm not gonna
Yes, he
lie.
did. Yes, he
Mhm.
did. And the immigrant population as well.
Mhm.
To the detriment of the Negro. So nope, I don't want to go up there. I don't want to see his little set that Shonda Rhimes that gave him from Scandal. I don't want to see Michelle dresses. I don't want to see the pins. I don't want to see no pictures of his mama. Even though I love me some Stanley and Dunham, her baby. No, I'm very aware of who the enemy in this story is, who the villain of this story is. And even when I try to explain that to black folks, they get mad at me like I did.
Mhm.
You know
Oh,
what I'm
no,
saying?
me and my homeboy the other day, and he asked me, "You gonna go to the?" I said, "Nope." I said, "Hell no, I ain't going." Well, why not? I said, I said exactly what you said, right? And he did not like that, and we got into a big argument on the phone about that. And my thing is, you're not going to change my mind. You're not going to make me. And that goes to a broader point, right? Because one thing that people think that they're going to change your mind, whether it's by uh, trying to humiliate you or trying to actually browbeat you, humiliate you, browbeat you, call you names. They think they're going to outwit you, outsmart you, and everything. And that's not completely the way that it's going to
Well, it's low self esteem. They have low self esteem. So, and we are in a social media era where everybody just wants likes and follows, right? So, if
go.
you are doing things that don't gather likes and follows in the way that they believe it has to be done, then they think that you're going to feel some kind of way. People always tell me, girl, you say that they ain't gonna do who not gonna do what. I still go to all the Democrat functions on the west side and eat my food and high five and hop in the pictures and take the selfies and all that. They say, girl, you are our favorite Republican. That's right, because I ain't going nowhere. That's it. You're gonna have to deal with me. I don't pimp children. I don't sell drugs. I don't steal. I don't lead a small gang. So if you got all these ex-pimp drug dealing killers up in here and y'all ain't saying nothing to them, you ain't got nothing to say to me because I want to listen to Donald Trump. Are you crazy? And then they like, oh yeah, you right. But they'll say, no, you got to be careful with her. I said, no, you got to be careful with you. You the thief. You the documented thief, not me. Everybody watch your purse when she come around. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really, I'm serious, Corey. I don't play with these people. And I had to learn because I grew up in the Democratic Party from the time I was a child. So
Yeah,
I had to really
my
like
mother's
come.
a staunch Democrat. But here's the
No,
thing,
no, wait. I want to finish. Let me finish this thought. I had to come to the conclusion that I'm a grown woman. I don't owe these people childlike deference anymore.
Mhm.
No, no, I
You're
can
right.
tell you you're wrong, and that's it. You can't call and tell my daddy on me. You know what I'm saying? No, so I, yep, I don't want to hear that.
Well, I don't know if anybody calls and tell my mama on me, but one thing is, my mother, she agrees with a lot of stuff with Trump, but she just will never cross over. She will never cross over. But I do. Let me try and reset right quick because I got another video I want to run. But yeah, she'll be back up. But if you wondering, of course, the title is we're talking about Chicago's Bloody Weekend. We had a Juneteenth festival here, and with that Juneteenth festival, it was there were 13 people. Well, not at that festival, but there was a celebration on the South Side, and 13 people were shot in one setting. Over the weekend, I think it was 40 people shot and 8 people killed. So we were trying to figure out what is the problem and whatnot. I'm gonna run this video. I'm gonna bring you back up, P. Ray.
Another violent holiday weekend in Chicago. At least 7 people were killed and dozens more hurt around the city. And now President Trump is offering to help curb the violence. Another violent holiday weekend in Chicago. At least 7 people were killed and dozens more hurt around the city. And now President Trump is offering to help curb the violence. Will they take him up on it? Mike Tobin live in Chicago with more. Hi, Mike.
And Dana, summer's just getting started, and we're already off to the races with bloodshed here in Chicago. Friday night, a Juneteenth celebration. A red SUV pulled up to this celebration that was happening on the south side in an area known as Princeton Park. Inside the SUV, 2 gunmen opened fire. It's not clear who their target was, but in a hail of gunfire, 13 people were shot. The ages of the victims range from 17 to 47 years old. Despite some people getting hit multiple times, there were no deaths. One of the victims was admitted to University of Chicago Hospital in critical condition. Now, Mayor Johnson put out a post. What should have been a night of celebration and community reflection for Juneteenth was shattered by a horrific act of violence. Thoughts and prayers.
By this being in a community where Juneteenth is observed, I think that it does a disservice to the community and what Juneteenth is supposed to stand for.
It's hurtful because of this holiday and how many people lives were given for this holiday to exist, to see lives taken this way, to see this happening.
Year to date in Chicago, murders are up 8% from the same time last year. Shooting incidents are up 6%. President Trump posted on Truth Social a familiar message. He says if Governor Pritzker would ask for his help, he could transform Chicago into a safe city. There was also an incident Saturday night in which a man was robbed and beaten on board a bus. According to witnesses, 3 men robbed another man and threatened to blow his brains out. Suspects were arrested in that case. And we're still waiting on the official number through Chicago police, but it looks like 7 people were killed across the city over the weekend in different violent incidents.
Sorry, we're back. But yeah, just to get back on topic, or we can deviate, but I think it all ties into everything that we have a violent culture that is here. We have people that are willing to take it there.
But again, it's only like this because people are not getting justice through Cook County courts.
Mm-hmm.
It's been this way since the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
You got to handle your business outside because the courts are corrupt, because the police are corrupt. So, we have a culture of bribery here, right? I mean, we know that all of these things have happened historically in Chicago, but I think it's getting a lot more attention because we have social media and we have the internet, and now we have more eyes looking at it. But the most violent year in Chicago, I believe, was 1979. And that's what
1979, but then also 1981. Actually, year I was born was either 1980 or 1981. There was over 900 homicides that year.
That's what
I think that's
what
when
I'm
crack
saying.
hit.
And crack didn't hit till 85. So this was pre-crack Chicago, and people were getting knocked off when Rick James was on the radio, right? When Michael Jackson was on the radio. This was pre-Thriller, okay? So, when people say it's a music thing, I remind them, no, it was worse when Michael Jackson was on the radio, or Teddy Pendergrass and all of them. That's in their era, right? The greasy Jerry curl era. And so, and so with that, it speaks to a pervasive culture that exists in Chicago. This is Chicago, period. That's why I keep telling everybody, this is Chicago culture. And then when I say that, people are like, well, you're just making excuses for it. I'm like, that's not about me making an excuse. I'm just stating a fact. And the fact of the matter is that this is how shit goes in Chicago. You hit me, I'm going to get my lick back. I don't care where I'm going to catch you at. I don't care who's there. And then if the people who witnessed it can mentally justify what happened to you, nothing's going to happen. They gonna say, oh, well, he did pee on that boy mama grave. Oh, all right, then. Well, that's just how it had to go. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's always, that's just how it had to go. He knew what he did. She knew what she was doing was wrong. No, murder is never the solution to an interpersonal problem. But here in Chicago, it's a totally acceptable outcome.
Well, but we can say that all across the country, though, right? Even though Chicago is unique in its way, but we can say that all because I'm gonna say something, but however you feel about it, I'm pretty sure you can talk about it. But I think that's why so many people went hard for Carmelo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, and even that's ridiculous, right? Even that Carmelo, the whole Black Twitter. I call that section of Black Twitter nigga Twitter. They are so mad at me right now. Ooh, they are mad at me, and I don't care because a child does not get to shoot and kill another child at a school event and then go home and play his PlayStation. That's not how this works. Okay, this is America. But they were all like, well, he put his hands on him and he ain't had no right to put no hands on him. What? Are y'all retarded? Like, what are you saying?
But the number one thing that I do, right? And I don't think some people understand. The number one thing I do, I say, what would you do if somebody pushed you? They would say, I'll push you back. And what would you do if somebody punch you? Punch you back, or we'll be fighting, right? It'll be a fight. That's what was expected of them. The proportionality of force. When you go beyond that and you want to use deadly force when it was no deadly force that was presented to you, then you're going to go to jail. And you try to have that conversation with people, and then they come up with lies. Do you know today? I just popped in my head. Do you know today that somebody came out with a fake? No, it wasn't even. I think they reused it because remember they came out with the fake autopsy report and that he was on Molly.
Yeah, he had meth in his system. Now they doing all this for a dead child on the dead child's name.
Yeah, somebody had reposted that today of bringing back up. I said, wait a minute, and it got me curious because you can go look at all the evidence. They show you the stab wound. They show you the blood on the jacket, on his hand, on all of that. And I'm like, how were y'all still trying to justify this? Well, he didn't get a fair trial. Well, he didn't get a fair trial because of what? Well, they had an all-white jury. Okay, it wasn't all white, but okay, it wasn't no blacks on the jury. I can understand what you're trying to say. But like I know, that there are a lot of people that don't want to do jury duty.
Yeah.
They try and get out of it. I remember my wife, she had to go do jury duty. And she didn't want to do it, but I was like, no, you have to do it. It's part of your. And when she got done with that trial, she learned a lot. And you'll learn so much at jury duty. I think sometimes that I'm gonna put it this way. I think some people, because they're close proximity to the streets and knowing some of their people in the streets, that they can't judge them fairly, and that becomes a problem. What do you think?
I'm an AKA, as you may or may not know, and one of the names that my line sisters gave me was Sophisticated Hood Rat, because I love. It's funny because it fits so well, right? And so I get it. I love the guys, okay? When I tell you I love the guys, I love the guys, okay? And the guys love me back. However, if you commit a crime, you shoot a baby, you going to jail. You sell some bad drugs and cause people to die out here, you going to jail. If you rob the church, you going to jail. Like, I don't understand.
They used to whoop dudes that sold soap on the because that drives away the customers. You selling them
Yeah,
soap.
all of
They used
that,
to whoop
right?
dudes for that.
I like decorum, but I think too, I think that this is another psyop that's been played on Black America, like the desire not to want to do jury duty. I think that once we gain the right to get on juries, then they start selling the idea to Black folks, no, you don't want to do jury duty. Man, you say everything you can to get out of it. Because they said that the Black people who went were like, no, man, I can't do it. I can't lock up no young brother. What? Well, what are y'all? What are you saying?
But then you turn around and Dr. Umar Johnson, of course, he said some stupid shit. But then you turn around and you look at the Rick Child's case, right? Look at Rick Child, and he had 5 Black jurors on him. They looked at the facts, listened to the facts, and said that guy was not guilty. And then everybody's in an uproar, and they use some comparative arguments to go back and forth about the 2 cases when they're different. And then when they come up, they say, well, the sentencing was biased. And it's like, some people, here's the thing, some people think that the 35 years that Carmelo Anthony received was too much. I say no, it was just because he could have gotten 99 years. It was 5 to 99. They could have gave him the chair. It was 5 to 99. Well, they couldn't have given him the chair because that'd be capital.
All right, it's not capital. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they could have gave him 99 years plus 99 years, but they gave him 35 years. And the jury did that, and people had a problem with that. And one way, and I think this is where they shot themselves in the foot. When Jeff Metcalf, when he came to the press conference, he
tried to pray with him.
He wanted to pray with them and show that it was not about race. It was not about race. He wanted to at least let's be the parents in this situation. And when they made it about race, and they kicked him out of there because of that dumbass activist. And man, let me tell you something. If y'all don't kick these type of activists out of y'all community, you will forever keep those type of problems. Nobody will respect you. That was hard. That was a hard sell for me. But that guy, he was the one that said, well, you need to pick this lawyer. Right?
Well, see, that's because Carmelo Daddy wanted this to be their Black Lives Matter moment. He wanted his son to be Trayvon Martin. You see what I'm saying? Like, everybody was clout chasing. That's the whole problem. His mama and daddy were clout chasing the entire time and got tricked by bigger clout chasers. And now they baby locked up. And for what? If they would have threw themselves on the mercy of the court, been nice to that man would have helped his son get out. He would have said, you know what?
He probably would have said, hey, maybe you can do 10 years, maybe you can do 5 years, whatever the case may be. You know what? I can accept that. My son is not going to come back for however many years that you do. But if you can atone for it and say that I'm sorry and actually give it to God and pray with us, we can look past that and work something out. You're not going to walk away from this unscathed, but you could at least just play it out and whatever. But
no, they didn't want to do that.
But it goes back to kind of what we've been saying, that in the culture, you're looked at as a punk if you sit there and you become subservient to certain situations. And just be honest about it. If you're subservient to white people, right? They'll make it seem like you're subservient, because you just atone for what you did and said, I was sorry, but you look at him, he copped out to them white folks. And
now what? Now you got to keep it real, and now you got to spend the next at least
Dave Chappelle said it best.
Yeah, but yes, he did. When keeping it real goes wrong. So now you got to spend at least the next 17 and a half years of your life in that cage because you want to keep it real. No.
Yep. So let me get to this video right here. And we're going.
Good morning. Well, I left my branding at home, but I can give you one of our Deep South Press Corps pins. Okay. To add to the gift box. Thank you. Also, being a student of language, even before I got into examining public characters and measures, I have to point out to you, as I pointed out to your press team, communications team, that I think you mean that the president is dough-brained or dough-minded, because doty can mean anything depending on the spelling, from savvy and results.
The spelling that I'm using is unintelligent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the way it plays out. But anyway, it can range anywhere from results-driven and savvy to as feeble-minded as unclear or from bewitched.
That's the one I'm referring to, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Thank you for that.
I thought you were getting at he was dangerously minded, which the dough brain suggests. In any case, so our cauldron of sources say that you attempted a few months ago to organize a fundraising event with FBA reparations leader Tariq Nasheed in Los Angeles, but that you all had to cancel because he was all booked up for events. So what is the value that Southern California campaigning to your election cause when you sorely need votes in Northern Illinois, especially Chicago?
Well, first of all, there are people all over the country that have taken an interest in my leadership in Chicago. When we talk about protecting Chicago, the executive orders that we pioneered here in Chicago, other places like Los Angeles and New York have used that model to implement policies that ultimately provide protection for their particular residents. As mayors, we share ideas constantly. I was just on a conversation with Mayor Ras Baraka, who's been a mentor of mine for some time. Many people don't know the history of Ras Baraka, but he was a public school teacher and assistant principal, and he worked for, he was a deputy mayor at the same time. And so we constantly utilize each other's expertise and experiences. Mayor Bass has held fundraisers in Chicago, so has Ras Baraka. People come from all over the country to raise money here in Chicago. And again, it's not unprecedented, but there are people that see my leadership as a model for the rest of the country, and they have expressed interest and they want to support it.
I see. And speaking of re-election.
Ooh, okay. So the question would be, it seems like he went to Tariq Nasheed to see about reparations.
And for what? You know what I'm saying? And for what? That's what I'm saying. That's the type of performative leadership that pisses me off. You, the mayor of the third largest city in the United States of America, one of the largest concentrations of Black American people in the country, and you going to a social media influencer to do what? Did he think that Tariq was going to open the space and say, all y'all Negroes go vote for Brandon Johnson? I mean, because that had to be the end goal, right? That he's trying to get reelected.
Mm-hmm. He's trying to get reelected, and but people seem to forget that even if where's the money going to come from? That nobody asked that question. Where are you going to get the money from? Where? ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde dineros?
I don't know.
Because
all I know,
if you have a city that's operating at $1 billion deficit, if you have a state that has a deficit, right? If you have a county that has a deficit, where is the money going to come from? You can't get it from federal because a lot of that stuff is actually allotted. It's allotted. You have to spend that money on certain type of stuff. You can't spend it on what you call reparations.
Well, I think a couple things. Number one, they can find the money for reparations just like they found the money for the illegals. Okay, nobody asked where their money was coming from, and they keep on pulling it out the sky for them.
Yeah, they went into the West End money, the money they got from vapes and all that other stuff.
Yeah, everything they can figure out. They can figure out how to keep these people lights, gas, and rent paid. Okay. However, I think that because I listened to that reparations task force, I think that all of this is performative. I think that if we are going to have a conversation about reparations, it has to be rooted in Jim Crow repair. Because if we talk about slavery reparations, then that means that the American Negro has its own diaspora. Okay. So yes, the majority of us live in the United States of America, but there are some of us in Liberia. There's some of us up in Canada. There's some of us in the Caribbean. There's some of us in Germany. We're everywhere, right? So those, say for instance, our cousins who left the United States and moved to Liberia. If we are to get slavery reparations, they got to be paid too. You understand me? And I don't want none of my money going over there. So
It's going deep in what people think it is.
it's going to be way deeper than what people think it is. So we have to focus on Jim Crow, because that was a campaign of state-sponsored domestic terrorism against the Negro, executed by the federal government and supported by state and municipal governments. It took an act of Congress to make them stop. So because the U.S. government was attacking its own citizens in their own country, we have to repair that. That's the conversation. But I'm not interested in hosting conversations around the institution of slavery, because we fought a war for that already. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people died. Thank you to the Union Army for showing up. Shout out to Juneteenth, right?
Yep.
So our issue is not rooted in the institution of slavery, but it's about what came after slavery, which was, much worse. And because this was happening to citizens,
I got a
and I
question.
think that there's a space for repair there. Uh-huh.
I got a question. You know how a lot of the people, they call it butter biscuits, right? You get your butter biscuits, I guess from Masson. Like they like to say that. Wouldn't Juneteenth be a butter biscuit thing? Because it should have been celebrated, but then now that Biden, got the cuff or the actual.
No. So let's talk about Juneteenth, because
Mhm.
actually celebrating Juneteenth federally was in the Platinum Plan. So it was already going to be passed. Okay. Donald Trump is the one who was going to make it this thing. However, Juneteenth is not the only Negro holiday that became mainstream. For instance, Memorial Day was a Negro holiday, okay, through and through until Memorial Day was a Negro holiday, because if you look at it, it's about venerating the dead. And who venerates their dead in America? Negroes. That's why we pull out a little bit for the dead homies, right? All of that is ancestor veneration. Western Christianity does not venerate the dead. Once you die, you've gone up to heaven. You're with the Lord, and you are gone. Whereas in our culture, if you gone, we still gonna remember you. We still gonna speak your name, all this kind of stuff. So Memorial Day was started as a post-Civil War ritual, for lack of a better word, that was carried out in the Carolinas. And then it spread throughout the South, and then it became a mainstream holiday. So the same thing happened with Juneteenth. We had our own internal holiday that became a mainstream holiday, and boom, here it is. Now we can also look at this because I always say Juneteenth is for all Americans. It's not just for Black Americans. And the reason that it's for all Americans is because it celebrates the end of the institution of slavery in this country and the final defeat of the Confederacy, because they were the last stronghold, that was still down there doing what they wanted to do. So this is something that we definitely want to celebrate, because we stomped out that terrorism in our country.
I want to say what's going on in relationship rehab. Brian, I know I see you down there. Thank you, Doc. I seen you said much love and whatnot. Everybody, if you want to join the conversation, just hit me up or whatnot. If you want to join the conversation, leave a comment. If you don't want to, you're just listening, that's cool. But we were talking about it, and I'm gonna just reset it right now. I didn't that either. I was sitting there thinking, that's why you see my eye go up. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't hear that. But she's right. She's right. If I can't substantiate it right now, I have to take a word for it. But
no, look it up. Everybody can look it up.
I will.
Day was a Black holiday that started after the Civil War. It was for them to celebrate the dead people who died during the Civil War. I mean, it was for them to celebrate the freedmen who died during the Civil War. It's like a Reconstruction era holiday.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a nice piece of information to go ahead and bring it. And Brian said he just looked it up. And he said that he did. He said you're right. So I can't argue with that and whatnot. But Brandon had this press conference, so I had a whole lot of clips from it. And I think there's some things we can talk about. And I want to just play a little bit, and then we'll come back to the conversation. I want to hear some other things that he had to say.
And services that have been proven to be effective.
My follow-up may not be applicable now, but but how do you envision this department working, and would it kind of repeat some of the same things that other departments are already doing?
No, look, I think that your follow-up is actually appropriate. This is why I'm taking a deeper look into what's being proposed, and I'm, again, prepared to talk more about it a little bit later this week. What I can say is that our efforts have demonstrated our commitment to reducing gun violence. What we have discovered, and this is not necessarily breaking news to anyone here, is that there are multiple departments that do work, and whether it's in community safety or senior services, that are distributed throughout the entire enterprise. Same thing with the Department of the Environment and why we restored it, right? And so there could be opportunities for us to find ways in which we can better streamline activity. There could be better ways in which we coordinate stronger with county and state. Again, as I've said, I bring answers to help drive solutions. There are others that have them as well, and I think it's incumbent upon me as the mayor of this city is to hear what these advocates are calling for and finding ways in which the work that we're doing can not just be aligned but strengthened so that we can ultimately build safe and affordable communities. Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not branded because Channel 7's too cheap to give us polos, but anyway.
Hey, whoa, did you just take a shot?
Anywho, that's another story. No. Back to this whole thing. I know you're going to talk about it later in the week, but what would be the difference between the Office of Community Safety and a Department of Gun Violence Prevention?
Yeah, look, again, I mean, look, that's a legitimate question. What I'm going to do is look at some of the specific elements. It's not just about the office. There are specific tasks that this organizing operation is calling for. There could be some tasks that we are implementing, but it could be a better way to streamline it, right? And so I don't want us to get necessarily hung up on the name or the classification of this office. I'm more interested in what work needs to continue or happen in a way that perhaps it's not showing up for advocates to ensure that all of us are working collectively together to drive violence down in the city, and particularly gun violence.
And then also, when gun violence was down last year, you attributed that to your efforts in terms of investments in the community as well as violence intervention programs. So now gun violence is up, and we still have investments in the community and gun violence intervention programs. So what is not working right now?
Well, I mean, look, I also attribute it to more detectives and having a stronger clearance rate, right? It wasn't just about those investments. They play a major part in how we drive violence down. I think another way to sort of capture what's happening is if you just look at what happened in 2022 and prior, you had almost 800. We've reduced it in half. So there's clear evidence, right, that we're not at.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes. I was on mute. My bad. Well, he's not being honest, right? Because he's talking about the
I'm not being honest.
Because the national average, what he's not saying is the national average went down, but Chicago still stayed high. Even though it went down, it was still higher than any other city around in America, no matter what. He's sitting there talking about, well, it went down. Of course it went down. That's the easy way to say that it went down, but the national average went down. Crime went down everywhere. I want to say last year, and he's talking about 2022 and talking about how we had almost 800 homicides and whatever. but he's not being fair with the numbers. He's not being fair with the variables or the nuance. What do you think?
I think that he is a wordsmith who likes to play games and trick people. That's why I'm always like going down there like, yo, Mr. Mayor, you not telling the truth. I read this and that's not what that says. Um, because he's so used to like just saying stuff and nobody calling him to the floor on it. Now, with all of that being said, we still have a violence problem in the city of Chicago. You understand me? People get shot by Brandon's house all the time. All the
Mm-hmm.
time. Okay, like as I told him when I went to City Hall, you say you ride your bike to work, so that means you riding past all of this, all
Mm-hmm.
the drugs, the leaning, the rocking, the shooting, the everything. You riding past it and you watching it every day, but you come down here and you lie to the people for what? I think that they are not used to people calling them out because people have such a strong loyalty to the machine. But you know, you got people like me and you know others who go down there who don't mind talking against the machine. But those even the
Let me
people.
explain what the machine is right quick.
Okay,
If
go
you don't
ahead.
know what we're talking about when we say the machine means the Democratic machine, right? Because there's such a well-oiled machine, well-oiled mechanics, whatever. But it's called a machine, and the machine is unstoppable. Can't uh, move it, can't dodge at anything, right? But Brian brought up a point. They're juking the stats, and we talked about that earlier. We talked about how they
Yeah.
use the Safety Act to juke the stats. That's why he's saying that they have been reporting crime different to cheat the numbers.
Correct.
And
Oh, let me tell you this. Let me
Mhm.
tell you how they juking the stats. So last summer, I'm at LaFollette Park, which is a park in the Austin community. I'm sitting on the bench with one of my friends. He had went to Pete's and got these little juices. So he like, all right, come on, we're gonna try these juices. So he has a child, I have a child. They're hanging out. We're sitting on the bench. We're drinking these juices. The Chicago Police Department pulls up on us in a Park District pickup truck and they say no drinking in the park. I'm like, man, ain't nobody drinking in the park. This juice. He like, I bet if I taste it, it's alcohol. I'm like, here, have some. So we laugh about it, what have you. Behind us is a massive soccer game going on. Okay, it's about maybe 200 people behind us. I said, man, why you over here bothering us? What about all them people over there drinking all them Modelo's? Why you ain't over there bothering them? And he said, and I quote, we try not to bother them because a lot of them are undocumented and any interaction that they have with us might spark immigration concerns. So we don't say nothing to them. I said, so you over here bothering me because I got a social security card, but they get to drink how they want to in the park. And then he drove off. So that's how they manipulating the stats, baby. They not charging, they doing everything they can to keep them off the books.
Here's how I know it's true. First and foremost, because I know that they try not to. Exactly, Rory. Um, here's how I know it's true, because they try to limit as much interaction that they will have with who they think is think is illegal.
Correct.
Another thing is this. Now there was a black man that was locked up, and he was charged with a UUW. If you don't know what a UUW is, unauthorized use of a weapon. And why? Because of the PICA Act. I'm gonna tell you why. He had an FN 45 or FNX 45. It was a handgun, right? Magazine capacity was at the legal limit. It was at the legal limit. You know what got him hemmed up because it was considered an assault weapon? It was the barrel. The barrel had a threaded end on. It had a threaded barrel on the end, to where you can put a suppressor on, right? And this was perfectly legal before the PICA Act. Now that he had that, he got charged with a UUW. That's a felony, and he got locked up for it. Well, he hasn't been adjudicated, or he hasn't been found guilty, but he still got to fight this case because that gun was considered an assault weapon. So now look at that arrest. Well, we getting guns off of the street. That's one of the arrests that they made. That what? We're getting guns off the street. Now look at our numbers. We're being productive. So
Correct.
even when you look at them, they don't want to touch the illegals, and that could be contact and whatnot, and they got Modelo's, and y'all got juice, right?
Juice, minding our own business on the west side of Chicago on a sunny afternoon. You can't even sip juice in the park without them bothering you. But they back there getting drunker than that thing. Do you hear me? Drunk. They got
Drunker than Cooter
Modelo's by
Brown,
the
as they
case.
say.
Yes.
Drunker.
And that's what I'm saying. So this is why the stats are being manipulated. This is why I don't believe any of this. This is why I'm out the way, because I know that the machine can and will send people to hurt you, which is why, I'm a visible person, but I'm not an obnoxious person.
Yeah.
You just gotta play this the right way because they will hurt you. Michael Scott ended up dead in the river with bullets in his head. Okay. And nobody went to jail for it. Mayor Daley resigned because of that. So if they can do it to Michael Scott, anything could happen to me. And therefore, you have to tell the truth, but in a way that it does not cause the machine to negatively react towards you.
Yeah, the machine, they will send everything towards you. They will send police officers. They will send regulate people, bureaus. They'll send bureaus to you, like far as
I'm being audited right now by the state of Illinois. My 2023, 2024 taxes are being audited. Why?
Yeah.
All these people ain't worked a day. Putting other people's kids on their taxes. My taxes are straight me and my child, but I'm being audited. And I know that I'm being audited because of the work that I do.
Yep. And so let's get back to this mayor right quick. And we're going to probably do some monologues.
Mayor Johnson, last week I sat in this very seat and I warned you that Juneteenth is historically one of the most violent days for whatever reason in the city of Chicago. You dismissed that. I asked you if Donald Trump, the president of the United States, if you would reach out to him for some kind of help or assistance. Again, you dismissed that. You said that you're the mayor, right? You said that Donald Trump was a massive failure or something to that effect. And now we have seen the results. 40 plus people shot, a dozen plus people murdered in the city of Chicago on Juneteenth, the weekend with the Obama Library and all the other wonderful things happening. And the people of Chicago, the real people, are asking me if you are aware, if you're even paying attention, if you're the massive failure, perhaps you're the massive failure in this equation and not the president, who, by the way, has reached out.
Thank you for your
the
question.
President of the United States has reached out again.
Well, thank you for your question.
Donald Trump has said he's willing to help.
What
Will
you're asking,
accept his support?
I appreciate you
well,
taking some time.
Ask that question,
You said that real people of Chicago.
Now?
Well, you asked two questions. Then.
No.
Your first question was, just want to make sure that I'm repeating what you said.
Okay.
Your first question was centered around, and it's a very lousy attempt of what you're trying to conflate, but your first question was essentially around who takes responsibility, right? And then your second question is the help that's needed from the federal government. So I'll answer both of them. And so, look, it's very clear that as it relates to community safety, that the President of the United States of America has done nothing to help secure safe communities across this country. He's done nothing to do that. In fact, if you look specifically at his so-called black agenda, he has not delivered on one promise. You can't say that you believe in creating safe communities and then literally undermine all of the efforts that create safer communities. That's why he's a failure. It's not just he's just a failure. He's a doty individual. Right, and so because of that, to answer your first question, the responsibility, of course, is on all of us. Here's the responsibility that I continue to take. Driving a community safety plan that removes guns from the streets of Chicago, driving a community safety plan that actually invests in the communities that this president refuses to invest in, driving a community safety plan that ensures that our local police department has the tools that they need to ultimately hold people accountable is why we have seen positive trends. Now, of course, there's more work to be done. That work is not going to be accomplished through social media. The failure of this administration is that he is more interested in tweeting or posting evil and inhumane projections of people and our humanity than he is actually willing to put money into the very communities that he ostensibly offers some degree of care for. But the fact of the matter is this: there's no administration in this city that has contributed more to keeping people safe. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely. Has this president undermined our work? He most certainly has. Again, this is an individual that is more interested in removing voting rights protections. He's more interested in calling for investigations or reducing the ability to investigate civil rights violations, right? It's not just simply about his abject failure. It's about his overwhelming interest in coordinating the upward transfer of wealth into the hands of the ultra-rich at the expense of everyday people. That's what he has failed to do, because, well, that's what he has done. His failure, of course, is in defunding the very efforts that ultimately can keep people safe.
Thank you, William. Question.
Thank you.
Question is simply this.
You've already asked two questions. You've asked two questions. No.
You campaigned on defunding the police. You've called the police a sickness. You say that incarcerating violent repeat offenders is some kind of race.
You can.
All right, it's a lot to unpack right there. As you know, that is William Kelly that asked that question. Whew.
Yes.
Go ahead, B.
So I think that he's not telling the truth again, and I'm gonna go down to City Hall because I have to call him out, or not call him out, but remind him that he's not telling the truth about this flood funding, which is a whole nother show. But when you have a president of the United States of America who's trying to close and secure the border in order to slow down the flow of drug and human trafficking to the city of Chicago, I definitely think that he's showing care and concern for the city of Chicago. I mean, period. Again, we live in Austin. So we live literally right off of the heroin highway. And the heroin highway, as we all know, is the epicenter of drug trafficking in this country, because they're not only just selling heroin now, but they're also selling fentanyl. Okay, so all drug distribution is coming off the west side of Chicago, where me and Brandon live in the same neighborhood. Okay, we live 6 blocks away from each other. I give a good, let's say a mile away from each other. Even though it's not a mile, it's still 8 city blocks. So we live very close to one another, and I recognize that there is much more value in securing the border and prosecuting drug traffickers than there is in creating an office of gun safety. I think that he's not being truthful. He's never spoken to the mayor. I mean, he's never spoken to the president. And I told him that as well. If Mandani can go talk to the president, why you can't go talk to the president? You ain't never talked to the man yet, and you've been in office all this time. Again, a beef between 2 grown men cannot result in a city of 3 million people becoming more vulnerable. I just think that in itself is selfish as hell. So if the man wants to send whatever kind of help here to help us out, security, drones, prosecutors, you name it, we need it all in the city of Chicago. But if Brandon were to accept that help, it would go against this faux notion that his team has created, that they got everything under control, when they don't. They don't. They need all the help they can get, and he's too selfish to take it. And that's my main problem with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, he used the word Doty again. Just to try and call him call the president unintelligent. Like you said, he's a wordsmith. And he loves the wordplay, and I call it losing someone in translation, because when you use these big words, right, it makes you seem distinguished. You're so smart. You're smarter than everyone else, and the average layman probably can't keep up with the conversation, so they try to lose you in translation.
Correct.
They want to embarrass you, right?
Uh-huh.
And so all of those big words, he seems like he's distinguished, but he's not really saying anything. Yes, the president was securing the border, but did you secure the borders of Chicago? No. Did you make sure that the criminality element was locked up? No, because you're complicit with Illinois in the Safety Act. You're complicit with the PICA You're complicit with all these different things. Even and I always say why gun control is so racist. Because you got to remember, us black people, we got to stay in these neighborhoods. We do. It's not always easy for people to pick up and move out because, for one, this is all they ever know. They know Chicago, they know the West Side, they know the South Side, they know Austin, they know the Greater Crossing, they know the Auburn Gresham, they know Inglewood. And I told someone one time, why don't you just pick up and leave? Why let the fucking criminals win?
Exactly. Why would you let the criminals run you off your land?
Mm-hmm. Well, you have roots here. You have all of you grew up here. You know everybody around in the neighborhood. Just pick up and leave. I get it. Sometimes you want to get your kids out of these terrible situations. You don't want to be involved, and that could be an option. But there are some people that say, I'm not going to give up on my city. Even when you look at some of the other stuff that he has been saying, it's just blatantly false.
Lies on lies.
Yeah, you may be trying. Yeah, well, you got to save face because think about a re-election. You may be trying, but you're not doing right. I can sit there and say, even if you aren't trying, right? You at least try to make it look like it. But nobody believes you. And one thing I do wonder, well, he shouldn't get reelected. But how do the people keep on reelecting J.B. Pritzker?
He got all the money, baby. He got the money. He not only has the Illinois Democrat Party money, but he got his Pritzker family money. He got a trust fund. They got money. That's how he keep getting elected, because he controlling the social services. Him and his family, they're making donations to large non-for-profits that employ large swaths of people within the community. That's how they stay in power. That's why, again, they do everything they can to make sure that industry does not come, but non-for-profits continue to thrive.
Well, even more with some of the looking at the bigger things, right? You know, I don't know. Do you know about the Pritzker range, the gun range that they have? Oh no. Oh. So Pritzker has a gun range, or the family has a gun range, right across the border in Bristol, Wisconsin. They built a big old gun range up there where they can sell AR-15s, AK-47s. They can sell what they want in Wisconsin. While the Pritzker family down here in Illinois, or people down here in Illinois, can't buy any of that shit. Can't buy. You can't buy AR-15. You haven't already had one. Of course, if you got one, you're supposed to register it or take it out of state. Whatever the case may be, you're supposed to do all of that bullshit. But guess what? All they did was just move it right across the state, right? Because Bristol's right there on the state line. They just move it right across the way, and they can enjoy it. How good it is for the government to just enjoy it, or government officials, or they can enjoy it over in Wisconsin, can in Illinois. All right, but we're gonna start wrapping it up. You got any last words you want to say?
Just know that this is our country, and we don't got to accept nothing that we don't want to accept. These people don't own us. We are free people. If you are literate, then you are capable, and you have a responsibility to do the best that you can be. Stop letting these people lie to you. Stop letting them trick you. The emperor does not have on any clothes. The emperor does not have on any clothes. You are looking at a big old naked, ashy booty. Okay. That's what you're seeing. You're not seeing anything beautiful. You're not seeing anything majestic. You're not looking at silk. You're looking at unmoisturized skin. And if that's all you think you deserve, that's fine. But for the rest of us, we want better than this. So just wish us luck and get out the way. That's it.
Thank you, P. Ray. Thank you for coming in. Hopefully you can come back next Thursday and we can, strike up more conversation.
I told you, anything for you.
Thank you. And I appreciate it because you helped me out, carry this conversation a long way. And I know you got a lot of insight on, Chicago politics. And I think I'm glad that you came and shared it with me, shared it with the world, and we can educate a lot of people that want to listen.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You
One is a
welcome.
monologue.
You're welcome. You my guy.
I got you. Next Thursday.
See you in a little while.
Yep. All right, people. I want to thank Ty Vandermite for coming in to help me start the show. I want to thank P. Ray for coming through. Thank you, Relationship Rehab. I want to thank you, Rory. I want to thank you, Mayhem, for holding me down in the chat. I want to thank you, Doc, Jason, everyone that came through, and our 42 viewers that are here. I want to say this. I think it's sad that on one weekend, double digits, more than 20 people were shot. When it was supposed to be a celebration, I guess, Black excellence, as some people may call it that. But then even more, that fathers were shot on Father's Day. Yeah, we don't like that some of these men are out there, possibly gangbanging in gangs. Still with fathers. I mean, we can have the argument. We can talk about whether they should be able to reproduce or not. Something is deeply wrong when you can't even celebrate correctly. When you can't even celebrate anything in life. It's always a constant look over your shoulder, look over your back. Someone's trying to take something from you. Someone's trying to harm you. We have a child that's killed here. We have a man that's killed there. The thing is, another law won't fix shit. They keep coming up with more and more laws here in Illinois. They keep coming up with more laws. Another law won't fix shit. The proof of that, Safety Act, passed in 2023. Whatever. One of them. PICA, Protect Illinois Communities Act, the assault weapon ban, aka assault weapon ban, passed in 2023, or signed by the governor in 2023. Took effect immediately. No, you had time to register. What has it stopped? I don't have the numbers as to how many mass shootings we've had here in Chicago. But one is too many. I can name 3 separate occasions. One on the west side in the Austin neighborhood. 15 people were shot. 170. At an album release party, 18 people were shot. At a Juneteenth festival, 13 people were shot. A celebration. I'm going to say something. It's going to be controversial. It is a cultural fucking problem that we celebrate degeneracy and we celebrate that we can kill each other. Yes, you want to have the argument that happens in white communities, happens in Puerto Rican communities, happens all over America. But if you look at the concentration of the bullshit that's happening here in Chicago, it's sad to turn on the news and hear about someone's child being deleted. It's sad to see that someone's mother was taken off this earth. So to all my Chicagoans out there, if you are one of those ones that wanted to stick up for Carmelo Anthony, you're part of the fucking problem. He has nothing to do with the price of tea in China, because you have a bigger issue here in Chicago. You have a deeper seated issue. I would think that you will worry about home first before you worry about something that happened down in Texas. But even more, that's a high expectation, because y'all worry more about what the president's doing than what your own governor, Speaker of the House, Cook County Commissioner, state representative, state senator, what they're doing. Fucked up part about it is you just don't care. You may not want the carnage in Chicago, but you're complicit in it. You can hate me if you want to, call me all type of coons. I'll wear a coon outfit up here. You can call me a name, but will it still, calling me a name, will that change your situation? No. Won't. My heart aches for innocent people being killed at the hands of these murderous fucking thugs. You became a lawless society. This is Gotham City. We can have street takeovers. Someone gets shot there. We can have royal rumbles. We can have fights. Someone gets stabbed here. Most importantly, you can celebrate life. Be shot dead there. Thank you. I'm Corey Brooks. Y'all enjoy y'all evening. Looking forward to seeing y'all next Thursday, 8 p.m. Looking forward to seeing y'all tomorrow on Joe LaNew's Grand Jury. Be there tomorrow on Joe LaNew's Grand Jury. I wish I had a promo to run for him, but he couldn't make it tonight. He had some stuff to take care of. Usually he sends it to me. I'm going to have to tell him to email it to me. But don't forget to be on to watch Joe's Grand Jury show tomorrow. Thank you all.
They frame me in a picture, Sharpie horns on my head, every rumor like a scripture, they repeat what they were fed. Yeah, I'm walking through the whisper, let them burn me in their tails. I keep receipts in my ribcage, every scar, every DD. Call me the villain, paint me in black, blame every crack in your heart on my back. But when the curtain's falling and every mask is gone,